You know how when you're a kid and people ask you what your favorite animal is, it's always something like really, really awesome. Or like a unicorn or something that doesn't even exist. It's always something like really cool. Well, my favorite animal was always a pig. And I actually had a pig at one point, and I've always loved pigs. So last Wednesday, my sister came up, and she brought me pig bowl. And I just want to zoom in to show you how awesome this bowl is. It's a pig as a bowl. It has ears even. I haven't used it yet because I'm on the meal plan, and I don't really eat meals out of real anything, bowls, plates, silverware. But eventually I will use this bowl. I will eat something out of this, and it's going to be amazing. I'm back. Alright, I know I was gone for 3 weeks, I think. So before I start this episode, I want to bring up two things. A few weeks ago, I went on vacation to North Carolina. I actually have a shirt. I don't know if you can read this. I went to Oak Island. So I couldn't do that for a week. And then my cousin ended up coming back with us to our house for like 3 or 4 nights. And then the next Saturday, so like a week and a half ago, I moved into college, which I'm at OSU right now. This is my dorm. So I haven't been able to do a video, but I'm going to try to start doing that. This video might be a little bit rushed because I've realized me and my roommate, we have exactly 1 hour when she's gone and I'm here. So I'm going to start trying to do this on Wednesdays. Yeah, Wednesdays between like 2 and 3 will be like my filming hour. So that kind of goes along with me trying to make my videos shorter anyway, so that'll work out. Also, I'm kind of sick, so if I ever sound stopped up, or if the video just kind of stops suddenly, it's probably because I had to go sneeze or like get a drink of water, and you really don't want to see that. So with that, I'm going to get down to business. Prop myself up here. I'm having trouble finding a good angle. Right now I'm sitting on my bed and this is on my dresser. So I'm going to see how that works out. Also, if I look down, it's because I have a notes of what I wanted to talk about since I'm short on time. Alright, into the episode. This episode is called The Last Outpost. It's on the 4th episode, right? Okay, making sure. It's when the Enterprise, they make first contact with the Ferengi. So they find out that the Ferengi have stolen this generator or some piece of equipment from a Federation outpost, so they have to go chase them. And so they're chasing the Ferengi, and all of a sudden the Ferengi stop over this planet. And the Enterprise is about to try to contact them when they realize that all of their power has been drained. Like, not all of it, but they have a little bit of shields. They can fire maybe a few phasers and photon torpedoes. But everything is being drained. They can't go to warp. Their life support is being drained. And so they automatically think that, whoa, the Ferengi have awesome technology that we didn't know about. And so Picard ends up contacting the Ferengi, kind of saying that he wants to surrender. But the Ferengi take it as him asking them to surrender and say, no, we won't surrender. Well, they won't absolutely surrender. And so they realize that they're both caught in this energy drain that's coming from the planet. So they go down to the planet with the Ferengi to kind of do the cooperative thing with first contact, and just hilarity ensues on the planet. And it ends up that this portal, this kind of holographic guardian of this 3,000-year-old empire, it catches ships above the planet because it thinks they are petitioning for entrance into the empire. And so Riker ended up talking to it, and he gets it to let him go and to let the Ferengi go. And it's not really a good first contact with the Ferengi, but as the Ferengi come into it later, you realize that they never really have good dealings with the Ferengi. So it goes okay. The main part is they didn't die. So in this episode, I know I've kind of been doing this. I know I said that The Naked Now is kind of Geordi or Wesley's episode. And then Code of Honor, where it was Tasha's episode. This is kind of Geordi's episode. Because for some reason in this episode, Geordi is a main character. He's all snarky and sassy. And I don't know if a guy can be sassy or not. I don't know if that's a girl thing, but he was pretty snarky. So, Geordi is the helmsman of the Enterprise. But in this episode, this is kind of when he starts to move towards engineering, because in the beginning of the 2nd season, he is the chief engineer. So he actually has a big scene in engineering, explaining all this technical stuff to Riker, And before that, I don't think he'd ever really had much contact with engineering. Cause like the chief engineer and the like second chief engineer from the Naked Now are just like gone by this point. And it's kind of like Geordi's down there now. And they actually, I think, because like they always have these really bad like analogies of explaining how stuff happens. Like I think the original series was more famous for it, but the Next Generation it carried over. So like Geordi's explaining how like the energy drain, and he like just like he does like it pushes and like we push and it pushes back, and that's like their explanation for what happens. And like Geordi does that a lot. All right, I realize I'm rambling, so all right, really bad segue. But okay, so whenever they're down on the planet, whenever they really are making first contact with the Ferengi, it's kind of cool because this is the first major race that the Next Generation has introduced. Because, like, we have Romulans, we have Klingons, we have Vulcans, and those are, like, really major races, but they are introduced in the original series. In this, they brought in the Ferengi, and I don't know if I read this somewhere, or if, I think I read this somewhere, that Ferengi were supposed to be, like, villains of the Next Generation, but after the first episode with the Ferengi, they just kind of killed that, because the Ferengi are so ridiculous that you can't really take them seriously. Like, even the people on the show, like, they realize that the Ferengi can be dangerous, but they don't take them seriously because they're just so annoying, and they're just running around, like, crazy. And they have these weird whips that, like, aren't even real weapons. Like, they take those out later, but the Ferengi are basically ridiculous. And you have, like, Riker is talking to the Portal at one point, because the Portal, like, asks him a question, and Riker, like, becomes kind of friends with him. And he like says how the Ferengi are not so different from how like we were, or how from they were, as like, kind of comparing to how we are now, like in the 21st century. And they draw this comparison out a lot through like the rest of the episode, both before that scene and after, because they were comparing the Ferengi to like the worst aspects of capitalism from like our era, and kind of saying they were like kind of like Yankee traders, like not really pirates, but like traders from like the early like United States, like 1800s. And, like, I understand that Star Trek is us being more evolved, like, humans, like, I think I said this in a previous episode, just, like, going past, like, petty differences and learning how to be more tolerant, how to, like, share the wealth more. But, like, we were not that bad. It's, like, I understand what they're going for, but I feel like they could have made the Ferengi not more human, but more, just, like, a more credible species. Because, as it is, the Ferengi are just so ridiculous that you can't take them seriously, and so it's hard to be like, oh, I can see how, like, that's kind of us, and how we need to evolve beyond that, because you can't even, like, equate yourself with them, because they're just running around insanely. And, like, I mean, the Ferengi are interesting. Like, you have Quark in, Deep Space Nine, and you do get some interesting characters. I haven't seen a lot of Deep Space Nine, but I have seen a few episodes of it. And you do get some interesting characters with the Ferengi, but I feel like as a race, as a species in general, they kind of failed, like, as Star Trek, because they're not as well developed as, say, the Klingons. You never get a real sense of, like, Ferengi culture, I don't think. Moving into what I said about the Portal, Riker is, like, really awesome in this episode. He's just, like, kind of badass almost, because you have, at the beginning of the episode, they're quoting the, like, Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu, I think that's what it was. He's like, he will triumph who knows when to fight and when not to fight. That's what him and Picard are kind of talking about. And then when you go down to talk to the Portal quotes that. And he's like, what is the answer to my riddle? And it's like a giant axe. And he's like swinging it all around. And he brings it down like right next to Riker's head. And Riker's just kind of looking straight ahead, really stoic. And he's like, fear is the true enemy. The only enemy. And it's just so ridiculous because Riker, I really liked Riker. That's probably why I don't think he comes across as that ridiculous in this episode, because I always liked Riker. But, and, like, he's not, like, this really, he tries to be, like, a really, like, tough character from everything to, like, the way he walks, the things he says. But really, I just feel like he's kind of, like, a goober at heart. So, like, when he has these scenes where he's just, like, awesome, and it's like, oh my god, go Riker, it's just kind of funny. But so he kind of becomes friends with the Portal, and this is where he brings up that the Ferengi were like us, but he's just kind of looking around, and he's like, we were not so unlike them once, and the Portal offers to destroy their ship. He's like, then they would learn nothing. And he has just, like, this really, like, superior, like, attitude about it. And he doesn't really come off like that most of the time, but it's kind of funny because like right here you're supposed to just like be in awe of him, like oh my goodness, he is so wise. But like maybe if you hadn't seen any other episode you'd get that from his character, but in this like specific episode he just turns like that. And then later on you have episodes like Angel 1 where he's wearing like this ridiculous outfit and just being like carefree and stuff. So it's just kind of a really weird sorry, I had something in my eye. But it's just like a really weird switching character, like his personality, I guess. Like, I don't really consider it an inconsistency, I don't think, because they all are like multifaceted characters, especially as they go along. But I feel like they were like pulling out different extremes of his character, kind of like they were trying to do with Naked Now with everyone. And you had, like, kind of, like, cool Riker, and then you just have, like, awesome Riker, like, being all wise and stuff. And I used to, like, have a thing for Riker when I was, like, I don't know, 10, 8, or something. So, I don't know. I like Riker as a character, but, like, I feel like that probably comes back and influences, like, what I still think about him. Even if he is just kind of ridiculous sometimes with his whole, like, manly man thing that he has trying to go on. While I was on vacation in North Carolina, we went to this really cool city. It was called Wilmington. I'm not sure if anyone's been there. I would guess you probably haven't. But we went to Wilmington, and there's this really old, like, kind of group of buildings called the Cotton Exchange, where they used to sell cotton. And now they just have a really, like, neat shops and kind of little restaurants. So we went into this, it was just like a little, like, coffee shop, and they just sold, like, some, like, basic sandwiches, hot dogs. And while I was in there, I saw, like, this little, like, thing, like, this tall. It was made out of just, like, bits of metal, and, like, its feet were Orange Crush, like, bottle tops. And it was holding this little sign called, it said, "Resistance is futile." So I had to take a picture of it. Well, I asked the lady if I could take a picture, and she just kind of looked at me and said, yeah, it's fine. She didn't care at all. I think she thought it was weird that I was asking. So I took a picture of that, and I'll put it up right there. One more thing. Double outro. Yay! But, like a month ago, I did a few videos with my friend Emily Wright, because she has a channel on here called The Phoenix Roost, and she's just getting around to putting it up a few days ago, I think, because she had to send her laptop off to get repaired. But if you want to check those out, I'll put the link down here in the little thing. So you can go watch those, or it's like a group of 2 videos and a group of 4 videos. So if those are too long, if you don't find those interesting, you should definitely just check out her videos, because she actually has a lot of really fun, cool videos. It's not Star Trek related, it's just whatever she feels like doing. But you should go watch those. So, here's a link.